Hello everyone, it's Grant with MTG Strategy. Thanks for joining me today for another strategy packed session. Today we're going to quickly talk about the things to check daily so that you get the most gold out of Arena. And then we're going to jump into gameplay, focusing on the rules and what's going on behind the scenes on the Arena interface that's letting you do certain things and not others. So you're going to know what's going on from a rules standpoint. Alright, let's jump in. Alright. So, first thing when you jump into Arena, there's a couple things you check for your gold every day. So we've got a 750 quest here, and we've got a couple of 500s. So we are going to see if we can reset one of the 500 gold quests and get a 750 gold quest. Before we do that, so we're working on the color challenge. So we've already worked through white and blue. So we have a quest here to cast 20 white or blue spells. We're not going to do that one. We're going to do the other one because we still have to play black in the color challenge. So we're going to swap this one. Alright, great. So it changed to 750 just like we wanted. So we know that this isn't going to, the white or blue quest isn't going to change. So that'll give us a chance to change it tomorrow and try to get 750 out of it as well. Alright, so that you do that every day. Try to get your 750 quests. And then go to the store. And you're going to go to the deals section where it offers daily deals. Sometimes they offer free packs or free gold or sometimes even free gems in here. So check this every time you come in. Right now, it's just giving us some card styles, so nothing we want to buy in here. But we want to check that every day for giveaways because sometimes it happens. Alright, so we've got to complete our daily quest. We've got to kill 25 of our opponent's creatures and cast 30 white or black spells. So let's jump in. See if we can do that. So we're still on the color challenge. Let's play our color challenge. We're gonna start playing red. You know what, let's change that to black since that's one of our daily quests. We'll start playing black. Black is focused on killing the opponent's creatures, weakening them, and doing some things that the other colors can do, but for a price. So sometimes you can gain life, sometimes you can gain life if you drain your opponent's creatures. Sometimes you can draw cards, but it usually costs you life. So let's jump in, and we'll talk about the rules of the game and what's going on. So you start out, typically in a paper game, you would roll dice to randomly choose who goes first. But here, it randomly chose, or since this is a setup game, it might have just let us go first to be nice. So in a game, you start with 20 life, and you're trying to get your opponent to 0 before they get you to 0. So during a turn, do you see these orange squares here and the diamonds? That's our phases. So we've got an upkeep and a draw, then a main phase where we can cast any kind of spell, and then we've got an attack phase where we go to combat, and then we've got a second main phase where we can cast any kind of spell, creatures, sorceries. It's better to cast instants at other times because they're flexible. You can cast them anytime, so you can be sneaky with them. And then at the end of the phase, that's actually a phase because your opponent has a chance to do something. So every time you play a spell, which we just played a land, which is not a spell, but this creature, anything that's not a land, most likely is going to be a spell. So we're going to play this creature spell. And see it go to the stack here for a second. Anytime we play something, it gives our opponent a chance to respond. And with any time that phases change to the next phase, it gives our opponent a chance to respond. Just like it gives us a chance when our opponent does something. but Arena streamlines it and doesn't give you the choice if you have nothing to do. So we're going to play that and attack. And that's how we're going to slowly drop his life total down. Alright, so he played a creature. We didn't have anything to do, so it didn't let us respond. That is a 1/1 creature that when he taps it, he adds a green to his color pool. Or, I'm sorry, to his mana pool. Alright, so now it's our turn, and we're going to start playing a little bit better, because that last turn was not quite technically correct. So we are going to okay, so we can kill his creature. We can give his creature -1/-1 until end of turn. And this compound fracture, says that it gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each card named compound fracture in your graveyard. So this gets better the more we play. And our Malakir Coldblade gets better when our opponent's creature dies. He gets a +1/+1 counter. So I said we typically wait on instants, but we have a reason to play this one, to make his creature smaller, which will kill it. Since its toughness went to 0, these numbers here are how strong a creature is. The first one is his power, which is how much he deals in combat. The second one is his toughness, which determines how much he can take before he dies. So since our compound fracture gave a 1/1 creature -1/-1, it killed him. And so when he died, because of Malakir Coldblade's ability, he grew bigger. So now we are going to attack. Everything that a card does will be on the card. So you saw what Malakir Coldblade does. The Typhoid Rats have a keyword, Death Touch. Death Touch means that if it deals any amount of damage to a creature, it kills that creature, even if it's less than the other creature's toughness. So now we are going to play our other Malakir Coldblade, which we should have done before we killed that other creature, so he'd be bigger. Alright, so now let's give his Woodland Mystic. Now it'll be -2/-2 since we already have one compound fracture in the graveyard. So now both of our Malakir Coldblades will grow. So we'll attack for 3, 5, 6 total power, which will drop our opponent down to 10 life. So we declare 3 attackers, and we play our land for the turn, which we get to play only 1 land every turn. Alright, he played 1 more. Which a deck can only have 4 of a copy of a card in it, and we've seen 3 of these Woodland Mystics. So he only has 1 more of those in his deck. So now we're going to attack with everything. If he blocks our Typhoid Rat, it'll kill it, but that's okay because our other guys will get bigger. So we're going to declare that we're attacking with 3 attackers. Now he chooses how to block. He decided to block our rat, which all the combat damage is dealt at once unless there's something that says it's not, like first strike or double strike, which lets creatures with those abilities deal their damage first. But since there were no first or double strikers, all the damage was dealt at the same time. So the Coldblades have dealt their damage already. But because the Typhoid Rat traded with the Woodland Mystic, now these guys are growing. So okay, so now let's get in there if he has nothing, that'll be the game. So we got him to 0 first, so we won the game. Alright. And I apologize, that play was a little bit sloppy, but we were talking through the rules and I got distracted. So we'll work on that and I'll try to explain the strategy behind why we make the moves better. Okay, so in the color challenge, it is going to take cards out of our deck, which it takes out a 3 mana 2/2, which is not a very good creature for its 3 mana cost. So we're glad that those are going away. And now we're getting a 5/5 for 3, which is very good stats for the cost. But because those are so good, this card is requiring us, as we cast it, to discard a card. So that's not good, but it's letting us get a really good costed creature, a really powerful creature for its cost. Which, we talked about black trading live, or this is kind of like that because it's giving us a card that has a disadvantage but is a very good card for the cost otherwise. So we're glad to trade this 3-drop for the Scathe Zombie. And this is also a 3-drop. It is a 1/1 flyer. By 3-drop, see, it has the 1 colorless mana and the 2 black mana in the casting cost. That's how much land it requires to tap to put this into play. So it is a 1/1 creature with flying, and at the beginning of our end step, if an opponent lost life this turn, it gets a 1/1 counter. Alright, so that'll grow. That's a good upgrade. So now let's play our white opponent, a Johnny. Okay, so we get to play our 1 land a turn. We have a 1 costed creature that's a 1/2, 1 power, 2 toughness, and it's got an ability where you can pay 3 and return it from our graveyard to our hand. So this guy, that's called recursion, when it can come from our graveyard back to our hand. So that is good. So we drew an instant for 2 mana. It says destroy target creature with power 2 or less. Okay, we will go ahead and play our land so that we have enough mana to cast this. So we have 2 instant speed removals in hand, 2 mana open. We will go to combat. We will declare 1 attacker. And now, since we have instants, the game stopped to give us a chance to use them. But since we do not, the only target is our own creature, so we definitely do not want to give our creature -1/-1 or destroy it. So we are going to go to damage and deal our opponent 1 damage in the turn, and we've got our removal spells up. Okay. Alright, since we have instants, the game's pausing to give us a chance to respond to this. But we do not want to cast our instants. But at the end of his turn, so we will let him go to his attack phase because it gives us a choice to use our instants as the phases change. So now it's stopping at the end of his turn, and we are going to destroy his 2/2 creature. Alright, so now we will attack for 1, dropping him to 18 life, play our land, and now we will play our new creature that we got. And since he lost life at the end of the turn, it got bigger. Alright, so now we are going to get to use our combat trick if he blocks. So we are going to attack with everything, Alright, and after he has declared that he is blocking our Sanitarium skeleton with his impassioned order, normally his order would kill our skeleton, but we are going to use our combat trick to give his creature -1/-1. So now, since his was a 1/1 and ours was a 1/2, ours killed his and ours lived. Alright, so we will play our land for the turn during our second main phase, and we will play our Sanitarium skeleton. And at the end of the turn, our guy gets bigger because he dealt our opponent 2 damage. Alright, our opponent plays another creature. So now, we are going to attack him with everything, even though it will kill our Sanitarium skeleton. We'll get to use its recursion ability. So we'll attack with everything. Okay, this blue highlighted means that there's something we can do with it. It's not in our hand, but it's saying it's in our graveyard with an ability that we can use. So we'll use it to put it in our hand, and then we'll play it in the turn as our Savage Gorger gets bigger. Okay, so when he gains life, this creature gets bigger. So we are just going to take the 2 here. Okay, so now it is our turn, our first main phase. We're going to play our land. Now we have an option to give a creature -2/-2 since there's already one of these compound fractures in the graveyard. We can wait. So he's got creatures. When he plays a creature, Impassioned Order lets him gain a life, and his Hallowed Priest gets a +1/+1 counter when he gains life. So this is a synergy that we need to stop. He already has 1 Impassioned Order in his graveyard. So there are only 2 more in his entire deck of 60 cards. So the odds of him playing another one are a little bit low. They're lower than him playing another Hallowed Priest. So with that logic in mind, we should probably kill his Impassioned Order so that his Hallowed Priest doesn't grow anymore. So, and I think it's a good idea to not attack with our Sanitarium skeletons so that we can block and kill his Impassioned Order if he does attack with it. So, or excuse me, if he attacks with his Hallowed Priest, because we're going to kill his Impassioned Order. So let's go ahead and attack. We'll attack. And I'm going to show you how, before we go to his turn, I'm going to show you how to set a stop on his turn. We're going to click on his Upkeep and Draw, and that's going to put a stop there, so that when we go to his turn, our creature gets bigger, it stops, and gives us a chance to do something. We have to press that pass button for him to get priority again. So during his draw phase, we are going to kill his Impassioned Order so before he has a chance to play creatures, so that his Hallowed Priest does not get bigger. Alright. So now we pass to draw, pass to his main phase. Alright, now our stop's gone. And it'll just cycle through like normal. So our Sanitarium skeletons held off his Hallowed Priest. So let's attack here in the air. Since our creature has flying, he is not able to block unless he blocks with another flying creature. So since his creatures don't have flying, he does not even have the choice to block. So we're going to play our other Savage Gorger, and now it's going to the end of our turn. So it's putting these triggers on the stack, and we have the choice to order them how we want to. We could turn that off in settings, but I like to control how those trigger because they resolve in the direction. So the stack's a little complicated. So when you play a spell, it goes onto the stack, or when an ability triggers, it goes onto the stack, which is what's happening here. So since these abilities trigger at the same time, we have the choice to order them how we want, which is important sometimes, not in this case, because they resolve from the last one that was played. So it's a little counterintuitive. So since we ordered them, they trigger in the way that we set. So when you play a spell, it goes onto the stack, and your opponent has a chance to play another spell in response. So if he plays a spell, it goes on top of the stack, and it would actually resolve before your spell does. That's a very important concept to understand in this game, because it's one of the things that having a firm grasp of will make you a much stronger Magic player. So it is now our attack phase, and we are going to attack with both of our flyers and leave our 2 ground creatures back to block. Alright, there's another game down in the color challenge. 2 down with our black deck, and it should be 3 more to go. Alright, so now we're trading out 2 mana costed 2/1s, and we're getting a 6 mana Nightmare whose power and toughness are stars. In this case, the text box is defining what those stars are. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of swamps that we control. Right? And we're getting a 4-costed 3/3 that when it enters the battlefield, it deals a damage to any target. Okay? So we'll play our next game. Looks like we're playing a red opponent who will typically have small creatures and direct damage spells. So looking at our hand before we start, we've got a 1-drop and 2 removal spells and a 6-costed, our new upgrade. So we'll play our 1-drop, pass the turn. Now they play a 2/2. So we are going to use our combat trick again to attack with our skeleton and hope he blocks. Okay, so now that he's blocked, we are going to give his creature -1/-1. So it goes onto the stack and he has nothing to respond with. So it goes to combat. Combat has several stages. It has declare attackers, which we have priority. We choose attackers, and then it passes to our opponent, which he can do things at the end of the declare attackers phase. And then it goes to declare blockers, where he has priority and he chooses blocks, and then we can respond after blockers are declared, and which is where we're at now. This is our chance to respond. The game's holding for us in case we want to play our other spell, which we don't. So we're going to pass priority, and it's going to go to the damage phase, where our 1/2 killed his 1/1 that we weakened with our Compound Fracture instant spell. And we are done. Okay, so he plays a Spellgorger Weird, which is a 2/2 that gets a 1/1 counter every time he casts a non-creature spell. So we'll let that resolve. We'll pass to attackers. And at the end of his turn, we're going to play our Compound Fracture to give his Weird -2/-2. Since he has no mana open, there's nothing he can do about it. Okay, so now we just drew Unlikely Aid, which is an instant that gives target creature +2/+0 and gains indestructible till end of turn. So that's a good trick to hold open to protect our creature. And we can also use it during combat to make our creature bigger and surprisingly kill his creature. So we'll attack for 1 end the turn. Okay, so he plays another Spellgorger Weird. Our turn. So we just drew a 2/1 that has a ability. So these abilities, you're seeing the cost is 6 colorless mana and a swamp. So you pay that cost. See the colon? Everything in front of that colon is the cost. And after you pay that cost, it activates the ability behind it, which is each opponent loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. So we can do that as many times as we want that we can pay that 7 total mana for. So now we're going to, during our first main phase, we're going to play our land and go to combat. So we're going to attack and hope he blocks so that we can play our Unlikely Aid. But we don't want to play it during the Declare Attackers phase. We want to go to blocks and hopefully he'll block. Since he doesn't know what's in our hand, we'll surprise him and make our creature a 3/2 with indestructible, killing his. And then after combat, we'll play our creature during our second main phase and pass the turn. So now he plays a 2/3 creature. Hey, we drew another Unlikely Aid. So we can do that again. He has 2 mana open, so he might can do something in response to this Unlikely Aid. But since he didn't last time, let's risk it and try to do it again. Alright, so success. So now we have enough mana to cast this spell. But let's attack first to withhold the information so he doesn't know what's in our hand. Because Magic a lot of times is an information game that you're trying to withhold as much as you can till the last minute. Because now he knows that all of our mana is tapped and we have 0 cards in hand. So he knows he's free to pretty much do what he wants. Which he did. He shocked our skeleton, which was not a great move. Oh, he shocked the Vampire Opportunist. Which would have been better for him if he did it in response to our Unlikely Aid. But maybe he didn't have it in his hand then. So now since we have 7 swamps, our Nightmare is a 7/7. So let's attack for 8. So that brings up an important point of a clock, which is just saying how many turns it'll take for us to kill our opponent. So he did that at the end of our turn. He shocked our skeleton. So we couldn't play it now anyway, so we'll just let it go to his turn and we'll return it to our hand at the end of his turn. Alright, so we'll return this to our hand. And we will go ahead and attack for 7. Which will be lethal if he can't do anything about it. Alright, good game. Alright, I hope all these extra details are helping. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Alright, so we're getting rid of more Scathed Zombies, which is a very old card that's been around since the start of the game. And we're getting a 5/5 for 5 mana. It can't block. but when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, it deals 1 damage to target opponent for each swamp you control. And we're getting Eternal Thirst, which is an enchantment. It has a lifelink that gives our creature a lifelink, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So I don't really like enchantments, which we talked about in my first video of how to start your account. So hopefully we don't get punished for having that enchantment. But if we do, we'll talk about why enchantments are bad. Alright, so he played a 1/1 flyer on his first turn. And now we go second. So we got to draw, play a land. We'll play our 1/1 Death Touch Typhoid Rats. Alright, so looking at the way our hand's going to play out, he plays a blocker. Looks like we're going to get to play a 2-drop this turn, and then our 3-drop next turn, and then our 4-drop on the 4th turn that can hopefully kill that Zephyr Gull. Alright, so we will attack with our Death Toucher and see if he wants to trade. Which he does. Since our guy had Death Touch, it kills his creature. And then we will play... we played that wrong. We should have played this first, so it would have grown. Okay, so we don't want to attack because his creature will kill ours. And we don't have any combat tricks to fix that. So we are going to play our Mardu Outrider and discard one of our swamps and pass the turn. Alright, those guys are good because he gets to draw a card when they come in. So he's got a lot of flyers. Okay, so we have ways to start killing his things. So if we attack with our 5/5 this turn, he can only block it with 4 power, so we don't have to worry about him killing our Outrider because all of his land is tapped and he only has those 2 creatures open. So let's go to combat and attack for 5. Okay, and then we will play our creature that deals 1 damage to any target. So we will use that to kill his 2/1 flyer. And now our Cold Blade grows, and it's his turn. Okay, so we can, looking at what we can do, we can play a 1 costly creature, which is not the best play. We have an instant that will give a creature -1/-1 because it's the only one. We have not played another one. And we have our Eternal Thirst, which boosts our creature and gives it lifelink. So let's play that before we attack. We'll play it on our second to biggest threat. Even though we won't gain as much life, this guy will start growing, and if he has any way to remove our creature, we'll have 2 big threats instead of just the 1 really big threat. So it's a little bit of a hedge against removal, not putting it on our best creature. So let's go to combat, attack with everything, knowing that we have a way to pump this guy by killing a creature our opponent controls. So this will become a 3/3 at instant speed. So let's go into combat with that trick up our sleeves. Okay, so he is blocking with 3 power to try to kill our 3/3. So this works out great. So we are able to kill that creature after blockers are declared, and now it sets these triggers. So it doesn't matter in this case which one happens first. Alright, so we gain 4 life from our lifelinker, and his other creature died, so now they're growing again. Alright, and let's play efficiently. We will tap out to play our last creature. Okay, and we lost our enchantment. He returned our creature to our hand, so our enchantment went to the graveyard, which is why enchantments are bad. Because if he were to kill our creature, it would kill our creature and the enchantment. So here he gained a card, slowed us down, and we lost a card. Alright, but that's okay. Let's attack with everything, having a trick in our hand that will give any creature -2/-2. Okay, so we will use it to save our creature. And we'll have him next turn. We could have had him that turn if we thought about our plays more carefully. But we're okay having him at 1, because when we play our Skeleton Archer, it deals 1 damage to any target, which includes players. So we'll play it. When it enters the battlefield, we deal 1 damage to the player. Good game. Alright, let's play one more game and finish this color challenge. We'll upgrade the deck and play our last game against a real opponent. Alright. So we're playing Game Mobile. And it is he is getting to decide who plays first. So in a paper game that's chosen randomly. So he's choosing whether to keep his cards or not. So when you're playing a real opponent, you get to look at your hand, decide if you like what you have, which we have only 1 creature, but we have a lot of removal, a way to protect our creature, and it's a recurring creature. And when we get to 7, we'll have a big play. So I'd like to have more creatures, but let's keep this. If we didn't like it, we could mulligan, and which would let us shuffle this, draw 7 cards, and put 1 of them on the bottom of our library. So it's a little bit of a hedge against bad draws, but we're going to try to play this. So we will play. He played a Shambling Gas, which is a 1/1 that when it dies, he can either give a creature -1/-1 or create a treasure token. So we are going to play our creature. That will be able to block his Shambling Ghast. It'll trade. Okay, so he's playing black and red. So he's upgraded his deck a little bit. Alright, and see now we're waiting on him to choose during his first main phase. So this is the stack. He's resolving this ability. He's choosing whether to give a creature -1/-1 or create a treasure, which he did. And so this deadly dispute let him draw 2 cards and create a treasure. But as an additional cost, he had to sacrifice his creature before the effect ever happened. Alright, so now because he played this with treasures, he was able to draw a card and lose a life. So we could go ahead and attack and use our Compound Fracture to give his creature -1/-1, which I think is a good idea because he may not think we can do as much with just 1 mana. So let's hold off on playing our land for the sake of surprise. Go to attacks, attack with our 1/1. So he did not take the bait. Which we probably should have waited and blocked. Tried to do that during block because he's got a faster clock on us. His two powered creature will kill us twice as fast as our 1 powered creature will kill him. So he's most likely going to attack here. And he is playing a creature before his attack, so we know he does not have any tricks. But this is a great creature. So he can pay 2 to sacrifice another creature or a treasure and draw a card. Which drawing a card is really powerful. So he used that treasure to create Unwilling Ingredient. It's a 1/1 creature that you can pay 3, exile it from your graveyard, and draw a card and lose a life. Okay, so he's playing all his stuff before he's attacking. So that's kind of indicative of a new player, more concerned about what he can do versus what we can do. So we are going to we're going to miss our land drop here, which is not great, but we're going to pass the turn with our 2 mana open and hope he walks into one of our combat tricks. Okay, so he's playing his creatures before combat again, so we know how much mana he has open. He's got 2 mana, 1 from the swamp and 1 from the treasure. So hopefully he'll play something else and clue us in that he doesn't have any mana. So leave us wide open to play our tricks. He's thinking he must have something he can do. So in Arena, you get a certain amount of time every turn And this is the timer letting him know his time's almost up. Okay, so he does use his mana to play another creature. So let's go to attacks. He's declaring attackers. So I would really like to kill his merchant. But since we can't, let's pass to blockers. So now we declare blockers. Alright, now he didn't have anything in response to declaring blockers, so now it's given us priority to play our instance, which we got him. Now it's our turn. We have 3 mana. We could play our creature, but I think it'd be good to hold up our combat tricks. We just drew a very good instant speed removal spell, which we can do at the end of his turn if he doesn't do anything else. But let's pass the turn with mana open again, hopefully to use our weaker combat tricks to kill another of his creatures. So, as far as a race goes, he's ahead of us. But, okay, so he plays a 4 mana 4/3. That when a mana from treasure is spent, it gains first strike and haste until end of turn. Which, that's okay. Because we have the instant speed murder in our hands. Which we might save for a bigger creature, because we're actually able to kill this creature with our skeleton. We know he has 1 black mana open, so he's not attacking with his 1/1s, because our skeleton will kill them outright. But we are going to pass to blockers, choose to block the sellsword with our skeleton, and after blockers are declared, before first strike damage, we're going to play our Unlikely Aid, which gives our creature +2/+0 and indestructible, which is key because he's going to deal first strike damage first. Okay, and now it's giving us priority back to pass to normal damage, which now our creature is going to deal 3 to his, and his creature's dealt 2 to us. So, do we want to go ahead and kill one of his creatures? It would be better if we wait, because this guy gets... Wait, no, that's the one that gets bigger when he's lost 5. So let's just go ahead and use our mana efficiently at the end of his turn to kill his creature, which he can't hurt our creature with, because it has indestructible. But he can create a treasure. So let's just get that done and out of the way. Okay, and now it's our turn. So we did that at the end of his turn. So now he must have an instant that he can do for 2 mana. Or no, he could have activated his treasure, so it could have been holding up for that. So let's go ahead and attack and see if he blocks. Because if he doesn't, our guy will get bigger this turn. And then on the next turn, we can use this to target him to make him bigger as well. So let's keep this in our hand to surprise him, to not give him any information to make his decision to block or not block with. So we'll go to attacks. His little guy has menace anyway, which we can't block with only 1 creature. Menace means it has to be blocked with 2 or more creatures. Alright, so he is not blocking. We're going to go to damage. Alright, so since he took damage at the end of our turn, this guy's going to get bigger if he doesn't do anything to kill it. So we will have a 2/2 flyer at the end of the turn. and he's getting a chance to pass to the end of our turn. Alright, it's waiting on him to make a decision to pass priority, because he gets to do something after this ability triggers. This is a triggered ability because it happens automatically. So he did decide to sack his treasure to draw a card using Skullport Merchant's ability. Which, drawing cards, I can't stress enough how powerful an effect drawing cards is. Because Magic is a game about information and resources. So we're trying to play carefully to limit his information to help him make bad decisions. But right now we don't have a way to gain more resources, which he does. Okay, so he killed our creature during his main phase with an instant, which is not the best form. And he's playing his abilities during his main phase, which he could have played at instant speed at the end of our turn. Okay, so wouldn't do us any good to attack. Let's go ahead and play our creature and just deal him a damage. And pass the turn. Now if he attacks, we've got enough power to kill his 1/4 creatures if he doesn't do anything to remove our creatures. So he made us sacrifice our creature with the highest power. And he plays another one. Okay, so we know he only has 1 mana open, so it's probably safe just to block here. Even if he has something, we can recur our Sanitarium Skeleton from our graveyard. So now we have 5 mana. So we potentially have enough mana to play our Eternal Thirst and our Murder, which we want to play the Eternal Thirst first because it gives our creature, whenever a creature or opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on our creature. So if we use our Murder, now our skeleton will get bigger. So since it has lifelink, let's go ahead and kill his creature during our main phase so that our creature gets bigger and we can attack for 2 and gain 2 life, which in a race right now we would win that race because for every 2 damage our creature deals, we gain 2. So he's effectively dealing us no damage. So he has 6 land and another mana available from treasure. Okay, so he played his instant during his main phase to give his creature +2/+0 and first strike. So I think we're playing a pretty new player. which hopefully he will watch this and learn. But I hope they're having fun. This is such a great, complex game. But he's thinking quite a bit about, so there's nothing we can do here. So we'll just attack here to gain 2 life. With our mana open, he might think we have something, so he may not block. We'll see if we can sneak some damage in. So no, not if he blocks, but we still gain the 2 life from lifelink. So now we'll play our Singer Vampire, which is with no cards in his hand. If he doesn't draw any way to deal with this, it'll end the game pretty quickly. In 3 turns, because it'll grow when creatures die. And okay, so we got rid of our enchantment, but we can return our Sanitarium Skeleton to our hand. So it'll be either 3 or 4 turns. Depending if we can kill one of his creatures or not. But it's a creature that has to be dealt by damage by Singer Vampire, so maybe not. Another land would really be nice, so we can play one of our expensive, powerful spells. Drawing cards would be great. Alright, so we'll go to attacks. And he gets to decide if he wants to activate any of his abilities or not. And so we will return our skeleton to our hand, paying 3 mana. And we'll pay 1 black mana to play it and pass the turn. Alright, come on, Game Mobile. Alright, he conceded. So, good game. Alright, so we get rewards for completing that black color challenge. Alright, so that is done. And next time we'll pick up on red. So let's go to our home screen. We were able to knock down some of our gold. Ideally, we'd keep playing to win that before we end the day, so that it opens up that slot so that we can get another one tomorrow. So let's sign off here. Thank you all very much for joining me. Hope you learned a lot. If you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.